Listen, because I'm going to tell you a story about a good man whose heart was tested by life's hidden challenges. It's the story of a man whose home shone like a morning star, but who learned that true love needs more than just a perfect appearance. Sit down, because this tale will teach you about patience, humility, and the power of forgiveness. His name was Kimo. He wasn't just respected in his neighborhood, but admired across the city of Sola for his intelligence and honesty. As an IT director in a big company, Kimo built his reputation on hard work, loyalty, and always aiming for the best. Every morning, dressed in a neatly ironed suit with his laptop under his arm, he walked through the city like a quiet king, greeted by everyone's eyes. But while his career was a bright success, his heart was still searching for the woman to share his life with. It was at church, during the pure songs of Sunday morning, that he met Miriam. She was gentle like a soft rain, with a smile that could chase away worries in a single glance. For a whole year, they got to know each other, deep talks, shared prayers, shy glances. And after that year, surrounded by their families and blessed by the pastor's deep voice, they married before God and their community. The wedding day of Kimo and Miriam came like a sunrise after a long night. For months, their families prepared with songs, dances, laughter, and hope. The whole neighborhood talked about their wedding. Even the market vendors said, "Oh, finally a serious, blessed couple." Kimo, always neat and smiling, wore his finest white suit. He looked like a king from an old story. Miriam wore an ivory dress with shiny pearls like stars. Her walk was gentle, her eyes full of love. When she arrived at the church, the children whispered, "Look, it's a princess." And the older woman, sitting under the mango trees, said quietly, "There's a lucky woman. May she take care of her home." The church was packed. Extra chairs were set outside for guests. Soft drumbeats played, voices sang hymns, and flowers filled the air with a festive scent. Kimo stood at the altar, his heart pounding like a drum. When he saw Miriam walking toward him, his eyes sparkled. He knew she was the woman to build his home with, not just with bricks, but with love, patience, and faith. The pastor spoke with a calm but firm voice. "Marriage is not a game. It's not a race. It's a journey for two. There will be winds, sometimes storms, but if you hold each other's hands, you'll always reach the shore." Kimo and Miriam looked at each other. They were certain. They said yes with trembling hands and eyes full of promises. After the ceremony, the celebration moved to the big neighborhood courtyard. Women cooked rice, chicken, grilled fish, and bersep juice. Children ran around everywhere. Musicians played happily. The elders blessed the couple with wise words. "May your home never lack laughter or prayer. May your love be like honey, sweet but strong." During the party, Kimo pulled Miriam aside and said softly, "I'm so happy I chose you. I want our home to be a place of peace, respect, and joy." Miriam smiled and replied, "Me too. My heart is at peace with you. I'll do everything to make you proud of me." That night, the stars seemed closer. Even the trees seemed to listen to the celebration. The breeze sang through the leaves. Neighbors said, "That's a blessed couple. They'll go far." After the wedding, Kimo took Miriam to their new home, a cute little house, freshly painted, with a garden where flowers smiled in the sun. He had put love into every detail, the curtains, the cushions, even the plates. He wanted Miriam to feel like a queen. At first, everything was perfect. Miriam cooked, laughed, and even danced a little while cleaning. In the evenings, they talked, looked at the stars, and shared their dreams. Kimo thought to himself, "Yes, I chose the right one. She's the one I'll build my kingdom with." But the wind doesn't warn you before it blows. Sometimes, Even a beautiful house can start to shake if you don't notice the small cracks. The start of Kimo and Miriam's marriage was like a fairy tale. They laughed together, ate together, and prayed together. In the mornings, Miriam woke up early to sweep, cook, and tidy up while Kimo went for a run before getting ready for work. She hummed while chopping vegetables, and the house smelled of spices and peace. Kimo would kiss her forehead before leaving for work, saying, "Thank you, my queen. May God bless you." Miriam would smile and reply, "Have a good day, my king." But after a few weeks, things started to change. One morning, Kimo found the kitchen messy, dirty plates piled in the sink, vegetable peels left on the table. He thought maybe Miriam had a rough night. He cleaned up quietly, just like he did when he lived alone. But as the days went by, it wasn't just small mistakes anymore. It became a habit. And that habit was messiness. Miriam stopped doing almost anything at home. She didn't even cook like before. Sometimes, Kimo came back from work and found only dry bread on the table, or nothing at all. He'd open the pots, and they were empty. She'd say, "I didn't have the energy to cook. Can't you order something?" Kimo didn't understand. This was the same Miriam who used to decorate dishes and put a flower on the table, but now she made no effort. The floor stayed dirty, clothes piled up on chairs, dust settled everywhere. Cockroaches even started roaming around without fear. The worst part was that Miriam didn't seem to care. She spent her days lying on the couch. When she wasn't sleeping, she was glued to her phone or laughing alone at TV shows for hours. Meanwhile, the pots were full of leftovers, the bathroom smelled bad, and the house started to stink. Miriam often stayed in bed late, her hair a mess, her face sulky. "Miriam, are you tired?" Kimo asked gently. "No, I just don't feel like doing anything today," she replied, turning away. Kimo was surprised but stayed quiet. He thought, maybe she needs time to adjust. Marriage can have slow days. But the slow days turned into heavy weeks. What hurt Kimo the most was that Miriam even stopped bathing for days. Yes, sometimes she went 3 or 4 days without a shower. Slowly, a bad smell clung to her, like a shadow that even open windows couldn't chase away. Kimo sometimes slept in the living room to avoid the smell in the bedroom. He cleaned the kitchen before going to work. And at night, he came back to an even dirtier house. Kimo felt ashamed. He couldn't invite friends over anymore. He, the neat and respected IT director, had a house that looked like an abandoned attic. One day, Kimo came home earlier than usual. He found Miriam in pajamas at noon, her hair messy, biscuit crumbs on the floor. He took a deep breath and sat next to her. "Miriam, my love, what's wrong? Things aren't like they used to be. I'm tired. Do you think being married is easy? I don't always feel like cleaning." "I'm human too," she said. "Yes, I know, but you don't do anything anymore. You don't even sweep or make the bed." "We barely even talk now," Kimo replied. Miriam shrugged. "Maybe I wasn't made to be a housewife. I thought it would be easier. Why don't you just do what you did when you lived alone? You used to sweep, wash your clothes, and cook, right? Keep doing that. Pretend I'm not here. That way, we'll both be at peace." Her words hit Kimo like a stone in his heart. He stood up quietly and left the room without saying a word. That night, he ate alone, a can of sardines with dry bread. And he prayed silently. For weeks, Kimo tried to talk to Miriam gently. He bought flowers, fruits, and even suggested a short trip to relax. But Miriam refused everything. She said it wasn't necessary or that she wasn't in the mood. "You just want me to be your little servant, huh?" she said one day, arms crossed. Kimo was hurt. He never saw Miriam as a servant, but as his partner, his queen, the one he wanted to build a strong home with. But Miriam didn't seem to want to build anymore. She seemed to have given up. Kimo's heart was tired. So, one Sunday, he went to the only person who had always been his safe place, his mother. Sitting on a small bench, peeling corn, Mama Fonte saw her son arrive with a sad face. "My son, something's troubling you. Tell me." Kimo sat beside her, looked down, and let a few tears fall. "Mom, I've done my best. But Miriam doesn't do anything at home anymore. She doesn't bathe, she doesn't cook, she lives in mess like it's normal. I'm living in shame, Mom. I can't even bring my colleagues over." Mama Fonte stayed quiet for a moment. Then she put her hand on his shoulder. "My son, sometimes people change. But you shouldn't have to live in dirt and shame. You've done your part as a husband. You've respected her, you've supported her. But now, you need to think about your health, your peace." Kimo sighed. "But what can I do? I don't want to leave her. I still love her, despite everything." The old woman looked at the sky, then said calmly, "Then make a wise decision. You don't need to hit or insult her. Hire a maid. Someone young, beautiful, clean, and serious. Let your house come alive again. And maybe that will wake Miriam up. Maybe this shock will finally open her eyes." Kimo nodded. It wasn't the solution he hoped for. But it might be the only way to save what little peace was left in his home. That night, he went home, but his heart was still heavy. He looked around, dirty plates, the TV blaring, Miriam lying down lifelessly in pajamas she'd worn for 3 days. He took a deep breath. The next day, he would make a decision. A decision that would change everything. After a lot of patience, prayers, and sadness, Kimo finally made his decision. He remembered his mother's words. "It's time for you to breathe a little. I'll recommend a good girl. She's young but serious. Her name is Fatou." Fatou was 23 years old. She came from a village a bit far from the city. Since she was little, she helped her mom with cleaning, cooking, and laundry. She had learned to be neat, respectful, and quiet. When Kimo met her for the first time, he was surprised. She was simple, smiling, and dressed respectfully. Her hair was neatly tied, her nails trimmed, and her eyes humble. "Hello, sir," she said, looking down. "Hello, Fatou. Have you worked in a house before?" Kimo asked. "Yes, twice. I love keeping a house clean, like it's my own," she replied. Kimo didn't hesitate for long. He gave her a room at the back of the house with a bathroom. The very next day, Fatou got to work. She swept, cleaned, aired out every room, and tidied the clothes. The house smelled good again, like before, or maybe even better. Meanwhile, Miriam watched all of this from the couch. She didn't say anything. She just observed. And deep inside, something started to bother her. Another woman, younger, prettier, in her house. And Kimo, calm, quiet, paying more attention to the cleanliness than to her. She didn't know it yet. But this decision was about to be the start of a big wake-up call. Since Fatou arrived, Kimo's house had changed. It was clean, fresh, and welcoming again. The tiles sparkled, the curtains smelled nice, and the kitchen looked like it belonged in a magazine. Kimo, after long days at the office, finally came home to a peaceful place. And this change had a name, Fatou. She worked quietly, without complaining, always with a small, shy smile. And most importantly, she respected Kimo. She spoke to him softly and politely. "Good morning, Mr. Kimo. I made your favorite dish today, rice with leaf sauce," she'd say. "Thank you so much, Fatu. You really have a talent for cooking," Kimo would reply. Sometimes, they'd chat for a few minutes after meals. Fatu shared memories of her village, stories about her grandmother, and laughed softly when Kimo made a joke. Little by little, a good bond grew between them. A simple but beautiful connection. But this light atmosphere, Miriam didn't like it at all. She often watched from the corner of her eye. Fatu would mop the floor, and Kimo would walk by, saying, "Good job, Fatu," with a smile. Fatu would reply, "Thank you, sir," with bright eyes. There was nothing wrong. But to Miriam, every smile felt like an arrow in her heart. She felt her husband's attention shifting. Before, he used to sit next to her on the couch, even if the room was dirty. Now, he'd rather stay in the kitchen, talking with Fatu. Jealousy started to grow inside her. One evening, after Fatu had gone to rest, Miriam exploded. She stood in front of Kimo in the living room, arms crossed, her eyes hard. "Kimo, what game are you playing?" she asked. Kimo looked up, surprised. "What? What are you talking about, Miriam? Don't act innocent. I see you two, laughing, brushing against each other like I'm invisible." "Miriam, calm down. Fatu just does her job well, that's all," Kimo said. "Just her job? Since when do you talk so much with the maid? Since when do you look at her like that? You think I don't notice?" Kimo sighed and put down the remote. "Miriam, if I smile with her, it's because she brings me some peace. The house is clean, she respects me, she speaks to me kindly. And you? You ignore me, you only talk to complain, you spend your days on your phone or sleeping." Miriam clenched her fists. "So now it's my fault? You're looking for an excuse to get close to her, is that it?" "No, I'm not looking for anything. I just want peace, Miriam. And you seem to have forgotten what peace is." Miriam went quiet. Her eyes filled with tears. She turned around, walked slowly to the bedroom, and slammed the door. That night, an invisible line was drawn in the house. A cold tension settled in. A tension you couldn't see, but you could feel in every silence, every glance. Then, one day, there was this exact moment. A moment that set off an alarm in Miriam's head. That night, Miriam was lying in the living room. She hadn't bathed in 2 days. She had left her plate under the table. The TV was talking to itself. But deep in the house, in the kitchen, she heard voices. Kimo's voice, and Fatu's. She listened closely. "You're tall, Fatu, but this pot is even taller than you," Kimo said, laughing. "Yes, sir, I'll get a stool." "No, wait. Let me help you." A silence. Then Miriam got up quietly. She tiptoed down the hallway. And there, she saw it. Fatu, standing on her toes, was trying to reach a pot high up in the cupboard. Kimo, behind her, reached out his arms. And he held her by the waist, gently, to help her balance. Fatu let out a nervous little laugh. Kimo did too. Their hands barely touched, but it was enough. Miriam's heart pounded. She stepped back, returned to the living room, and sat down, shaken. That touch, that connection, that closeness. She understood. Not that Kimo loved Fatu. No. But that Fatu had taken the place she had given up. The next day, she watched them again. Fatu served breakfast with care. Kimo said, "You always think of everything." Fatu laughed, "It's normal, sir. You work hard, so you deserve to be spoiled a little." Miriam felt something break inside her. A pain, an anger at herself. She got up, went to the bathroom, and looked in the mirror. Her hair was a mess. Her face looked tired. Her clothes were wrinkled. And a bad smell came from her underarms. She closed her eyes. Tears fell. What have I become, she thought. She remembered the beginning. How Kimo looked at her with pride in church. How he talked about her to his coworkers. How she had promised to build a strong home. Then an image came back. Fatu, clean, smiling, cooking with Kimo. She hadn't just lost her husband's attention, she had lost her dignity. That day, Miriam made a decision. She closed the bathroom door. And for the first time in a long time, she washed herself. Thoroughly. With lots of water. She scrubbed her skin, her hair, cleaned her nails. Then she went out, found clean clothes, and ironed a dress herself. She tied her hair, put some cream on her skin. She opened her wardrobe and picked a pretty salmon-colored dress with nice earrings. And she went to Fatu to apologize gently. Good morning, Fatu. Thank you for everything you do here. You can rest today. I'll take care of the meal. Fatu looked at her, a little surprised. Okay, ma'am, as you wish. Kimo walked into the living room and froze. Miriam was glowing. She was smiling. And she smelled good. Miriam. Yes, my husband. I've been thinking. You deserve better. And this house does too. I forgot who I was, but I'm ready to change. Kimo didn't say anything right away. He looked at her for a long time. Then he smiled. You're still beautiful, Miriam. I'm happy to see you again. After Miriam's wake-up moment, the house changed again, but this time, for the better. Fatu stayed for a few more weeks until Miriam fully took over. Now, every morning, Miriam woke up early, took care of herself, prayed, and prepared breakfast before her husband returned from his morning run. Kimo noticed this. He watched her quietly, his heart full of pride. She swept, cooked, and even hummed sometimes. Her light laughter, which he hadn't heard in a long time, filled the house again. One day, Miriam made soft lemon cakes. Kimo tasted one, looked at her, and said, Miriam, what you just made, it's a real masterpiece. She smiled shyly. You think so? I'm serious. You have a real talent. Why not turn it into a business? And that's how the idea was born. Kimo, always a visionary, offered to help her start a small bakery in their neighborhood. He handled the paperwork, found a space, and helped with the decorations. Miriam focused on the recipes, the presentation, and poured her heart into every pastry. In a few months, Miriam's Sweetness bakery became well known in the city. Customers came from far away to try her coconut cakes, melt-in-your-mouth cookies, and cinnamon donuts. Kimo came every day after work to have coffee with his wife and admire her. Fatu, meanwhile, was warmly thanked. She had played a big role in rebuilding this home without ever crossing any lines. She later found a steady job in another house, with great recommendations from Kimo and Miriam. The couple, once in crisis, was now stronger than ever. Not because everything was perfect, but because they had faced the storm together. In a marriage, things aren't always easy. Love alone isn't enough. It takes patience, effort, communication, and most importantly, mutual respect. Sometimes, you forget what you have until you're at risk of losing it. Kimo could have made a dangerous choice. Miriam could have stayed stuck in her neglect. But instead, they chose to rise, forgive, and rebuild. And in the end, they found something even better than what they had before. And you, dear listener, tell me, If you were Miriam, what would you do if you saw your husband getting close to another woman? And if you were Kimo, would you have had the patience to wait? Or would you have made a different choice? What do you think truly makes a couple strong? Share your thoughts in the comments. Spread this story around. Maybe it will touch someone's heart who needs it. Because every home can be reborn, as long as the hearts stay open.